Hello, Curious Patriots. Donald J. Trump has shaken the American political establishment to its core. But was he the cause of the disruption, or just a reflection of deeper cultural issues? He defied odds twice. How did this happen? What did millions of Americans see that the experts, the media, and the political establishment missed? Twice. And on the flip side, why do just as many Americans believe Donald Trump is a detestable and dangerous human being? Here's what I find frustrating. Too many of us jump to lazy conclusions. Trump won because of racism, sexism, and bigotry. The left hates Trump because they're woke, brainwashed, sore losers. Neither of these explanations is, quite frankly, reasonable. Something deeper is at play on both sides. Are we listening to each other in an effort to understand what that is? I spent nearly 2 decades on active duty military in the United States Navy, putting my life in the hands of people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, races, and religions. And you know what I learned? We're all the same. We all care about our families, children's futures, our communities, and our country. If you asked 100 Americans, 50 who voted for Trump and 50 who didn't, 100 questions about their values, I bet you'd get near total agreement. You want to see our country's education system improve? Do you believe in dignity and respect for all? Do you believe in the United States Constitution? Do you want clean air and water? Do you want to leave the world a better place for your grandchildren? How then can this same group of thoughtful, reasonable people have a correlation of near zero when it comes to the President of the United States? Now, before you rush to give the answer that both sides always give, let's take a breath and zoom out. Our political differences, they aren't about what we want, they're about how to get there. And that's where it gets interesting. In my line of work, when something goes unexpected, we call a timeout. We engage in brutally honest conversation, even when it's uncomfortable. We attempt to identify the real root causes and the necessary corrective actions. The rules of this game? We don't discuss external factors beyond our control. We don't play the blame game. And we don't give ourselves a pass. Instead, we ask, what did we miss? What do we need to learn? What should we do differently? Let's apply that same principle here. This divide really isn't about policy. It's about perception, emotion, and sentiment. So let's dig in. Not to blame, but to understand. If you didn't vote for Trump, let me challenge you to consider 3 possible lessons. Lesson 1. People don't vote on policy alone. They vote on who makes them feel seen and heard. Resentment is a powerful force, and for decades, working-class Americans have felt betrayed by politicians, by corporations, and by the media, by the so-called elite. Agree or disagree, that was their lived experience. Trump didn't create that resentment, but he sure as hell tapped into it. He didn't sound like a politician. He sounded like the guy at the end of the bar, venting about how nothing in government works anymore. Were people voting for Trump? Or were they voting for someone, anyone, who displayed authenticity? Trump's unfiltered, chaotic style wasn't just tolerated, it was embraced and adored. Why? Because for decades, Americans were fed sanitized, focus group tested, pre-packaged, teleprompter-driven politicians who spoke in meaningless sound bites, and they're tired of it. Trump shattered that mold. He may have been reckless, crude, and even offensive, but he was never scripted. And in a world of calculated PR and sanitized messaging, millions saw that as a breath of fresh air. 3. National pride is not an outdated concept, and patriotism is not a dirty or threatening word. It still matters to many. Trump's America First message wasn't just about economics. It was about pride in our country. For many, it felt like a return to an unapologetic patriotism. For years, both parties have downplayed national identity in favor of global partnerships and identity politics. But to millions of Americans, Trump was the first leader in decades to loudly say America should come first. Now, if you voted for Trump, let's talk. Lesson 1. Some people seek stability. Chaos fatigue is real. Trump's first presidency was exhausting for some Americans. It felt like a never-ending soap opera. His supporters saw a fighter, but his critics saw a man who seemed to thrive on conflict for its own sake. Lesson 2. If conservatives want to expand their appeal in future elections, they need to ask, could we fight for the same ideas with a representative with a cleaner and less controversial character? Character still matters. For millions of Americans, character is central to their decision at the ballot box. They perceive that Donald Trump's history of questionable behavior as the antithesis of the role model that they would choose for their children. His vindictiveness is unpresidential and sometimes dangerous. And his rhetoric is disrespectful to many people at home and abroad. Lesson 3. Not all resistance to Trump is about ideology. Some of it is a natural fear of radical and unpredictable change. It's the devil you know, right? Consider that to some, gridlock is not a bug of our republic, but a feature. Thomas Jefferson said, democracy is the most inefficient form of government, but it is also the best. They see slow incremental change as a feature of democracy, not a flaw. This ensures that no one person can change the course of history too drastically. This is to avoid irreversible damage by one person. Now, both sides, take a breath. If you're pissed, good, that's okay. America has survived worse divisions than this. We fought wars, depressions, assassinations, riots, and upheavals, and we come out stronger every single time. Because here's the truth. We are not just red and blue states. We are not just conservatives and liberals. We are Americans. And if there's one thing that defines us, it's this. When the chips are down, we don't back down. We don't run from challenges, we run towards challenges. And we sure as hell don't let division be the thing that defeats us. The real battle in America isn't left versus right. It's curiosity versus cynicism. And I know we are still the kind of people who can rise above quite literally any obstacle. So here's my challenge to you. If you didn't vote for Trump, ask yourself, am I actually engaging with Trump supporters or just assuming the worst about them? If you did vote for Trump, ask yourself, am I dismissing Trump's critics as irrational or actually listening to their concerns? This country isn't going to fix itself. That's on us. But if there's one thing history proves, it's when Americans set their minds to something, we get it done. We've split the atom. We've walked on the moon. We've defeated tyranny across the world. You think we can't fix this? Of course we can. Because we're Americans. And it starts right now with you, with me, and with this conversation. Let's talk. Let's listen. Let's fix this. And if you believe in this message, hit like, subscribe, share, because we're just getting started. And drop me a comment. Let's talk. Till next time.